Welcome to This Explainer. Today we're jumping straight into an existential climate threat facing the Canary Islands, and more importantly, the groundbreaking technological solution that's actively taking it on. We aren't just looking at a tool that theorizes about climate impacts, we're looking at a platform that's actively managing them. It is honestly setting a bold, award-worthy standard for how vulnerable regions can actually secure their water future.
The contrast here is just breathtaking. On the surface, you've got the stunning natural beauty and those lush, iconic agricultural terraces of the Canaries. But hiding right beneath that is a really harsh structural reality, an invisible water deficit. A reservoir nestled right in a volcanic crater is literally a lifeline. See, in a territory where natural fresh water is structurally scarce and highly dependent on super irregular rainfall, managing every single drop isn't just a good idea, it's a matter of absolute survival.
To really wrap our heads around the urgency of this, let's look at one staggering number: 15 million. The local population of this entire archipelago is only about 2 million people, but they have to share these incredibly fragile water resources with up to 15 million tourists every single year. That creates this massive, wildly fluctuating demand curve. To meet it, the islands have to rely heavily on energy-intensive desalination plants and very sensitive underground aquifers. It is a really delicate balancing act, and one that's hypersensitive to any climate shift.
Now, when we break down where all that water goes, the reality is actually pretty surprising. You'd naturally assume that with 15 million visitors, tourism would be the ultimate drain, right? Well, despite that massive footprint, tourism actually only accounts for about 11% of water use. The real heavyweight? Agriculture. It takes up a massive 60% of the total water consumption. Cultivating vital export crops, like the famous Canary banana, takes some serious irrigation. So the main takeaway here is clear. To build any kind of lasting climate resilience, we absolutely have to innovate how we manage agricultural water first.
The compounding crisis we're dealing with becomes totally clear when you look at the stark reality of reduced runoff. Climate change is already causing a measurable drop in rainfall, completely throwing off historical patterns. But the real kicker? The rising temperatures. Hotter days mean a drastic spike in evaporation. So, not only is less water generating surface runoff, but crucially, a lot less water is actually making it into the ground to recharge those underground aquifers the islands desperately rely on.
And this is absolutely crucial to understand, this isn't some theoretical threat looming in the distant future. It's happening right now. The source material sums it up perfectly. It rains less, and what falls evaporates faster before it can be absorbed. This structural imbalance is actively putting just immense pressure on the island's unique ecosystems and their local economies. It's basically a textbook climate crisis, and it demands an immediate, highly advanced technological response.
But wait, the geography makes it even more complicated. The dramatic volcanic topography of the islands interacts with the trade winds to create these incredibly localized microclimates. Literally, one side of an island could have a humid, cloud-covered forest, and just a few kilometers down the opposite slope, bam, arid, desert-like conditions. Because of this, broad, generalized climate models just do not work here. Managing water in the Canaries requires highly specific, hyperlocal data.
So, what's the move? To survive and thrive, the Canary Islands absolutely must pivot. The old reality of reactive management, just scrambling to respond to droughts as they happen, that just won't cut it anymore. They have to transition to a new reality of predictive resilience, anticipating instead of reacting. And this systemic shift is exactly where true innovation steps in.
Enter SICMA Canarias. This right here is a universally vital climate adaptation solution that takes the threat of water scarcity head-on. It brilliantly bridges the gap between really complex atmospheric science and practical, on-the-ground decision-making. Basically, it's a high-resolution digital platform that provides incredibly localized climate change projections, custom-designed to optimize water management across the whole archipelago.
The platform maps out these detailed climate projections in a clean, highly authoritative way. It provides the exact kind of visual evidence that hydrologists, policymakers, and, crucially, award judges can grasp instantly. By weaving together real-time data and future projections into one accessible interface, it takes the invisible, blooming threat of climate change and makes it totally visible, manageable, and measurable.
What's genuinely powerful is the depth of exploration you get. You can literally zoom in on a specific town, specific coordinates, or even right into Teide National Park. And you can view this data across all sorts of different socio-economic scenarios modeled by the IPCC, looking from present day all the way up to the year 2100. It is essentially a time machine for water planners. They can literally visualize future aridity and rainfall long before it actually hits.
Now, if we're talking about real breakthrough innovation, it's the absolute granularity of this system. Pulling this off in a jagged, mountainous island terrain is insanely difficult. Yet, the platform scales down global climate models into a stunning 100 by 100 meter resolution grid. At that hyperlocal level, it is tracking the exact variables that matter: shifting precipitation, potential and actual evapotranspiration, the aridity index, drought indicators, and the total water balance. It's incredibly precise.
But here's the best part. This data doesn't just sit around in a research lab gathering dust. It's out there, practically empowering the key stakeholders to take action today. Policymakers use it to smartly allocate funding for new desalination or reclamation plants. Farmers are using it to tweak their irrigation based on real localized crop stress. And local governments? They're managing their urban water cycles with a level of precision we've just never seen before. It completely democratizes the climate science.
By integrating this data, massive agricultural systems can adapt to localized drought conditions on the fly, which secures the region's food supply and protects its economic engines. Remember that 60% water consumption figure we talked about earlier? Think about it. If we use SICMA Canarias to optimize even a tiny fraction of that agricultural water use, the downstream positive impact on the island's total water reserves is just phenomenal.
So I want to leave you with this final, provocative thought. Right now, the Canary Islands are serving as a real-world laboratory for a crisis the entire world is facing. If we can master predictive resilience using SICMA Canarias in these incredibly complex, resource-stressed microclimates, where else can this scalable innovation secure our global water future? Because this platform proves, without a doubt, that with the right technological innovation, we can turn profound climate vulnerability into a real blueprint for global adaptation. Thanks so much for exploring this incredible solution with me today.